I never thought a box of fake jewelry would teach me the most valuable lesson of my life. But before I tell you how it all unraveled, let me take you back to where it began. To the quiet mornings in my old house. To the small wooden box I kept on the top shelf of my wardrobe. To the days when I believed love and sacrifice were enough to hold a family together. I was wrong. But I was also right in ways I never imagined. My name doesn't matter. What matters is the story I'm about to share with you. It's not a story of wealth or status. It's a story of betrayal, dignity, and the quiet strength that comes when you stop seeking approval and start honoring yourself. It all started with my jewelry. Now I know what you're thinking. Jewelry? Really? But hear me out. Because this isn't about gold or diamonds. It's about what people are willing to do when they mistake glitter for worth. I had a small collection. Nothing extravagant. A few bangles, a couple of necklaces, a pair of earrings I wore on my wedding day. To anyone else they might have looked ordinary. But to me each piece held a memory. My mother gifted me one of the bangles the day I left for my husband's home. My husband bought me the earrings with his first salary. The necklace? That was from my son's first birthday, a gift I bought myself because I wanted to mark that joy. I didn't wear them often. I kept them safe, tucked away in that wooden box, wrapped in soft red cloth. Every few months I'd take them out, hold them up to the light and remember. Remember the woman I was. The dreams I had. The life I built piece by piece with my own hands. I never imagined someone would take them from me. And I never imagined that loss would become my greatest victory. When my son told me he was getting married, I was overjoyed. I had raised him alone after my husband passed away. I worked 2 jobs, stretched every rupee, and made sure he never felt the absence of his father. He grew up to be kind, respectful, and hardworking. Everything I hoped for. So when he brought her home for the first time, I welcomed her with open arms. Her name was Nisha. She was beautiful, well-spoken, and came from a family that valued education. On the surface she seemed perfect. I remember thinking, finally my son will have the companion he deserves. But there was something I missed. Something I didn't see beneath the polite smiles and carefully chosen words. Nisha didn't just want to be part of our family. She wanted to own it. The first few weeks after the wedding were peaceful. She helped in the kitchen, laughed at my stories, and called me Ma with what seemed like genuine affection. I thought we were building something beautiful. A bond. A partnership between 2 women who loved the same man. But then I started noticing small things. The way her eyes lingered on my jewelry box when I opened it to put something away. The questions she asked about where I got each piece. The casual comments about how vintage everything looked, said with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. At first I brushed it off. I thought maybe she was just curious. Maybe she admired old things. But then the comments became more frequent. More pointed. Ma, do you ever wear these? They're just sitting here. Ma, wouldn't it be better to keep them in the bank? What if something happens? Ma, I've always loved traditional jewelry. It's so much more meaningful than modern designs, don't you think? I should have seen it then. The slow, deliberate way she was planting seeds. Testing boundaries. Seeing how far she could push before I said no. But I didn't see it. Because I wanted to believe in her. I wanted to believe that my son had chosen someone with a good heart. Our home was small, but it was mine. I built it with my own sweat and savings. After my husband died, I was left with nothing but debt and a young son. People told me to sell the land and move in with relatives. But I refused. I worked as a tailor during the day and took tuition classes at night. I saved every paisa I could. And slowly, brick by brick, I built a house. It wasn't fancy. The walls were plain. The furniture was simple. But it was ours. It was a place where my son could grow up with dignity, where he didn't have to feel ashamed of where he came from. I always dreamed that one day this house would be filled with laughter. That my son would bring his wife here and we'd live as a family. I imagined quiet evenings together, shared meals, and the warmth of 3 generations under one roof. That was my dream. A peaceful joint family. But Nisha had a different dream. He came from a family that struggled too, but in a different way. Her parents had spent everything they had trying to maintain appearances. Big weddings for relatives they barely knew. Expensive clothes they couldn't afford. A lifestyle built on borrowed money and fragile pride. Nisha grew up watching her mother chase status. And she learned to do the same. She didn't want a simple life. She wanted luxury. She wanted people to look at her and think she had everything. And when she realized that my house, my lifestyle, my jewelry, none of it matched the image she wanted to project, she started to resent me. I didn't know it yet. But the foundation of our relationship was already cracking. The first real argument happened 3 months after the wedding. I had made dinner as usual. Simple food, dal, rice, vegetables. The kind of meal I'd made 1,000 times before. But that night Nisha barely touched her plate. She pushed the food around with her spoon, her expression distant. "Is everything okay?" I asked gently. She looked up and for a moment I thought she'd say nothing. But then she spoke. "Ma, don't you think it's time we made some changes around here?" I blinked. Changes? What kind of changes? The house. The way we live. Everything feels so old-fashioned. Old-fashioned. The word stung more than I expected. "What do you mean?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. "I mean, look around. The furniture is outdated. The kitchen is so small. And honestly, the way you cook, it's fine, but it's not what people our age eat anymore. We need to modernize." My son, sitting beside her, shifted uncomfortably. He didn't say anything. He just stared at his plate. I took a slow breath. "Nisha, this house may be simple, but it's built with years of hard work. If you want to make small changes, we can talk about it. But this is still my home." She smiled. But it wasn't a kind smile. It was the smile of someone who had just realized I wouldn't bend as easily as she thought. "Of course, Ma," she said sweetly. "I'm not trying to disrespect you. I just think we deserve better, don't you?" Better. As if everything I had wasn't enough. That night, lying in bed, I felt something shift inside me. A quiet unease I couldn't name. The months that followed were filled with small battles. Nisha wanted control of the household expenses. She wanted to decide what we bought, where we shopped, how we decorated. She started inviting her friends over, showing off the house as if it were hers, making subtle comments about how she was trying to improve things. And then there was the jewelry. He brought it up more and more. Always casually. Always with that same sweet tone. "Ma, have you thought about getting your jewelry appraised? You might be sitting on a fortune." "Ma, my friend's mother-in-law sold some of her old pieces and bought a new car. Can you imagine?" "Ma, if you ever want to sell, I know someone who gives great prices." Each time I brushed her off. I told her the jewelry wasn't for sale. It was sentimental. It was mine. But I could see the frustration building in her eyes. The way her smile grew tighter. The way she stopped asking and started hinting. And then one day she stopped hinting altogether. It was a Tuesday morning. I remember because Tuesdays were always my day to clean the house thoroughly. I started in my bedroom, dusting the shelves, organizing my wardrobe. That's when I noticed it. The wooden box was gone. At first I thought I'd moved it. Maybe I put it somewhere else and forgot. I searched the wardrobe, the drawers, under the bed. I tore through the room, my hands shaking, my heart pounding. It wasn't there. I tried to stay calm. I told myself there had to be an explanation. Maybe my son moved it for safekeeping. Maybe I was losing my memory. But deep down I already knew. I walked into the living room. Nisha was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She looked up when she saw me. "Ma, what's wrong? You look upset." I tried to keep my voice steady. "Nisha, have you seen my jewelry box?" She frowned, tilting her head. "Your jewelry box? Oh, why? Is it missing?" "Yes. It's not in my room." She stood up quickly, concern flooding her face. "Oh no. Are you sure? Let me help you look." And just like that, she was at my side, pretending to search. Opening drawers I'd already checked. Looking under cushions. Acting like the perfect, caring daughter-in-law. But I watched her closely. And I saw it. The flicker in her eyes. The slight tremor in her hands. She knew exactly where it was. For 2 days I said nothing. I watched. I waited. I let her think she'd gotten away with it. My son noticed I was quiet, but when he asked, I just smiled and said I was tired. Nisha, meanwhile, grew more confident. She started talking about redecorating the living room. She showed me pictures of expensive furniture on her phone. "We could finally make this place look modern, Ma," she said brightly. "I've been saving up." Saving up. The lie was so casual, so effortless. And that's when I knew I had to act. I called an old friend who worked at a pawn shop. I asked if anyone had recently tried to sell jewelry matching the description of mine. He called me back within an hour. "Yes," he said quietly. "A young woman came in 3 days ago. She sold a set of bangles, a necklace and some earrings. Said they were family heirlooms." My chest tightened. "How much did she get?" He paused. "Not much. Maybe 5,000 rupees. The pieces weren't real gold. They were gold-plated. Good replicas but not valuable." I closed my eyes. "Thank you," I whispered. 5,000 rupees. That's what my memories were worth to her. But here's the thing. She didn't know the truth. She thought she'd stolen something precious. She thought she'd won. And I was about to show her just how wrong she was. That evening I gathered my son and Nisha in the living room. I kept my voice calm, my expression neutral. "I need to talk to both of you." My son looked concerned. Nisha's face was carefully blank. I looked directly at her. "Nisha, I know you took my jewelry." The room went silent. My son's head whipped toward her. "What?" Nisha's face flushed. "Ma, I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't lie to me," I said quietly. "You sold it 3 days ago. At the pawn shop on Main Road." Her mouth opened but no words came out. My son stood up, his voice shaking. "Nisha, is this true?" She looked between us, panic rising in her eyes. I didn't think." "You didn't think what?" I interrupted. "That I'd notice? That I'd care." Tears filled her eyes, but I wasn't done. "You know what the worst part is?" I continued. "You thought you were stealing something valuable. But you weren't." She blinked, confusion crossing her face. I smiled. A small, sad smile. "The jewelry was fake, Nisha. It was gold-plated. Worth almost nothing." The color drained from her face. "What?" "When my husband died, we had nothing. I couldn't afford real gold. So I bought replicas. Cheap ones. Just so I'd have something to remember him by. Something that looked like the life we wanted but could never afford." My son sank back into his chair, his face pale. Nisha's voice was barely a whisper. But they looked so real." "They were supposed to," I said softly. "Because the value wasn't in the gold. It was in what they represented. And you took that from me for 5,000 rupees. He started crying then. Real ugly sobs. "I'm sorry, Ma. I'm so sorry. I just wanted." "You wanted what you thought I had," I finished for her. "But you never stopped to see what I actually had. Dignity. Self-respect. A life built without shortcuts." My son looked at me, his eyes red. "Ma, I'm so sorry. I didn't know." "I know you didn't," I said gently. "But now you do." The days after that were heavy. Nisha barely left her room. My son tried to talk to her, but I could see the distance growing between them. He'd look at her differently now. And she knew it. One evening she came to me. Her eyes were swollen, her voice hoarse. "Ma, I know I don't deserve forgiveness. But I need you to understand. I grew up watching my mother sacrifice everything for appearance. I thought that's what mattered. I thought if I had nice things, people would respect me. I was wrong. I know that now." I looked at her for a long time. "Nisha, respect isn't something you buy. Something you earn. Through honesty. Through kindness. Through showing up even when it's hard." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I want to earn it. From you. From him. I want to be better." "Then be better," I said simply. "Not for me. For yourself." Slowly things began to change. Nisha started helping around the house without being asked. She stopped making comments about money or status. She started listening instead of talking. It wasn't perfect. Trust doesn't rebuild overnight. But it was a start. One afternoon she sat beside me while I was sewing. She didn't say anything for a while. Then quietly she asked, "Ma, will you teach me?" I looked up. "Teach you what?" "How you did it. How you built this life." I want to learn. And for the first time since she'd entered my home, I saw something real in her eyes. Not greed. Not ambition. Just a young woman trying to find her way. Okay, I said softly. I'll teach you. Months passed. The house felt lighter. My son smiled more. Nisha became the daughter-in-law I'd hoped for, not perfect but trying. Honest. Present. One day she handed me a small package. I saved up, she said. I wanted to replace what I took. I opened it. Inside was a simple gold bangle. Real gold this time. Modest but beautiful. Nisha, you didn't have to. I wanted to, she said firmly. Not because I owe you, but because I want you to have something real. Something that reminds you that I see you now. Really see you. I held the bangle in my hands and for the first time in months I felt something I thought I'd lost. Hope. I still keep that wooden box. It's empty now but I haven't thrown it away. Because it reminds me of something important. People will always judge you by what they think you have. But the ones who matter will see you for who you are. Nisha stole my jewelry. But in doing so she gave me something far more valuable. She gave me proof that I didn't need gold to be worthy. That my life, my choices, my sacrifices, they were enough. More than enough. And in the end that's the only treasure that truly matters.